Thank you to the OER Geomatics team for a great presentation. Next, we have Geospatial Audio, presented by Olivia Chen and Vida Chan. Before we hear from them, I'll pass it over to PIs Dr. Daisy Rosenblum, who is unfortunately not here, but is in the Zoom chat answering questions, and Dr. David Garter.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the great presentations so far. It's so wonderful to be in a room with people who are doing such great work. So my name is Dave Gartner, and I'm one of two directors for CEDAR, which is Community Engaged Documentation and Research. And as mentioned, my colleague Daisy Rosenblum is joining us by Zoom, and we also have in the room Dante Cerrone, who's our new, we just snapped him away from EML to work over at CEDAR. And Sarah McClellan, who's just joined our team as well. So Daisy and I both work out of the Institute for Critical Indigenous Studies. Daisy in First Nations and Endangered Languages, and I work in First Nations and Indigenous Studies. We're sort of two halves that make up the whole of that space. And we sort of came together both because of the power of technology that we've seen in lending itself to cultural resurgence and survivance around language and storytelling in particular. So we came to EML originally with this idea about finding a way to connect language, technology, and storytelling in a way that could be situated and place specific. So what we wanted to do, Daisy and I are both also have community radio backgrounds and our audio files. And so what we wanted to do was to create an application in which sound files, stories, poems, language could be connected specifically to certain places on the land. So using geo-triggers or QR codes, when you are on a specific place in the land, you would be able to hear an audio file that was attached to that. And so for our beta test for this, we actually worked with our colleagues in Musqueam Language and Culture, specifically Vanessa Campbell, to think about the Hunkamanum language, Hunkamanum street signs that you see around UBC now. So with the application that we've developed, which is the first of what we will hope will be many on this platform that we're building, what you can do with the app is you can scan the street signs as they exist. And then you can actually hear Vanessa Campbell from Musqueam pronounce the Hunkamanum right in your head. And from there, it'll connect you. We have 9 of the signs linked up around campus, and the application will show you where the other signs are, and you can hear all those different pronunciations. We're hoping to expand out of this a little bit more. We're also working with Vancouver's Poet Laureate, Fiona Lamb, to think about some place-based poetry projects that we'll be releasing later on. And there's some other language initiatives as well, too, where we're thinking about language as it exists, again, in relation to place. So we've had an amazing team on this, and we've worked with them over the year. And I think Daisy and I are both just thrilled with seeing this idea that we had last summer come into reality. So we're really excited to be here to share it with you. And so I'm going to pass the microphone on and let Olivia tell you a little bit more. Thank you, Olivia.
Yes, please. The fancy clicker. Thank you, David. So now that we've learned about the project inspiration, let me introduce the rest of the team. Oh, okay. So starting off with the wonderful PIs that we've just met, one of them, David and Daisy. And then you have me, the project lead, Olivia. And then in development, we have Dante, once again. He's been on every project so far. There's another one too, he's still on it. And then in design, we have Vida, right beside me. And in advising, we have Catherine Winters, Erin King, Hannah McGaugan, and Vanessa Campbell. And a special shout out to our honorary member, Joshua Lim, for helping us out with various different aspects of this project during this term. So considering the subject matter of this project, we would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Hunkamanum-speaking Musqueam people. Hello? Oh, okay, cool. So our approach to providing a solution to create an experience for our users begins with this overarching framework. So first, we took the images and the audio files from the Musqueam street signs at UBC's website, and we stored them in our custom Drupal interface as data. And in tandem, we also made a web application supported by React 3 Fiber, which is just a React framework that supports Three.js. And thus, we have a product, or in this case, rather, a proof of concept. I'll just use that.
Since for this project, we are creating both a database and an end product, there are two types of users we had to consider. So first was the editing users, which will be interacting with our Drupal database. But more importantly, there is a subcategory of editing users called authenticated users, which will be using the Drupal to mostly manage content. So for example, they would be responsible for inputting the information about the Musqueam street signs and where they're located, and also the audio files. And then next we have our end users, which are the people that will be using the end product. So again, they'll be going around campus and scanning the street signs and also using the application to navigate around. So one of the things that we have worked on this school semester was customizing the Drupal interface to allow our authenticated users to have an easier time of managing our content. So first thing we did was create custom content types called tours and locations. So on the image on the left shows what Drupal looks like when you are creating tours and locations. And basically within a tour, you have a set of locations which contains the associated information like coordinates and all the media files. We've also customized the interface mainly to address general usability concerns, like changing button labels to better reflect what they do, and also to better suit the tasks of our authenticated users. We've also changed the way that content is displayed on Drupal to allow better content management. So before, everything was just listed on one page, regardless of whether it was a tour or a location. But now, as you can see on the image on the right, it's a tour and the locations are listed within it. And there's also a map to see where everything is as well.
So seeing that traveling, and by traveling I mean foot walking, is an important nature of this project, we've created an entry as QR codes to the app. So we've created a QR code generator in our code base to have it be accessible from project to project. So each project can build their own QR codes inside the app and use them. So we've used image recognition to trigger the audio that corresponds to these street signs. The image recognition part is made possible with AR.js. So first we took these images from the Musqueam street signs at UBC, and we trained them into NFT markers. NFTs in this case is not non-fungible tokens, but are rather natural feature tracking files, which are really good file formats for your cameras, or your phone cameras to read. And then we took the cameras from Three.js to scan these street signs to trigger audio. Thank you. So now that we've touched a bit about audio, let me walk you guys through how we made spatial audio possible. So I've mentioned previously that we have NFT markers here and also cameras. So Three.js also is like reads in 3D by nature. So in this instance, when users put up their cameras up to the markers, which AKA are the actual street signs, the camera is able to tell where they are in relation to the camera. So by that, we could use positional audio to trigger like spatial audio events, which are also built inside Three.js.
So these are the features that we had planned on implementing for our end product. So far as the one that we have completed is image recognition of the street signs, which allows you to point your camera at the street sign and then play the corresponding audio. We've also implemented a map feature to help people navigate across campus if you're unfamiliar with the place, and also just letting users know that there are other street signs in the area. And then things that are currently a work in progress are the GPS triggers, sort of providing feedback or notification if the user is within a certain radius of another street sign, and then also including geospatial or like spatial audio or background soundscape so that there's some sound as they're navigating between street signs.
So the priority of the project was to lay a foundation that would produce a minimum viable product. Therefore, most of the former components discussed took a while to solve because it's a level of difficulty and constraints on time. So most of our future plans include enhancements of of currently existing components, as well as features we have yet to implement, such as the GPS trigger. Thanks for coming.